Jared thinks to himself, I feel the blood in my body boiling even now. I've dueled with those stronger than me before, but I've never felt this way. This young prince has awakened something inside me. The duel continues until Jared cuts through the third prince's mana-coated sword. The prince stands and says, it's over. The third prince, Yuri, extends his hand to Jared. I learned something from you, Jared. Jared replies, no, thank you. You put up an incredible effort. He thinks to himself, that momentum and resolve. I've never experienced anything like this. How can someone this young be so powerful? The third prince falls to the ground, exhausted. The knights watching the duel say, Your Highness, that was amazing. The commander, Sanad, leader of the Barrel Royal Guard, appears and contemplates the duel between the prince and the knight, Jared. The scene shifts to several days after the matches. Jared appears. The third prince, Yuri, says, You're off duty now, right? Jared replies, Yes, I am, Your Highness. The prince says, Come with me. We have somewhere we're going today. Jared says, But I still need to train. The prince responds, So your senses have finally awakened. That's thanks to me, so you owe me a favor. The prince thinks to himself, his stance is more disciplined now. He still has a long way to go, but this is enough for now. The knight asks, So where exactly are we going? The prince tells him, Just follow me in silence. The prince calls out, Ernand, the royal mage of the kingdom of Beryl. Ernand approaches the prince and says, What is it, Your Highness? The prince says, We have a destination we must reach. Help me, Ernand. Ernand apologizes, saying, I love to accompany you, but I have urgent work. The prince replies, I'll pay your gambling debt. The mage says, Are you serious? The prince says, Yes. I'll pay back everything you lost to me last time. Have I ever lied to you? The mage of the kingdom replies, Well, outside of the gambling hall, never. I mean, I've never seen you outside of the gambling hall. The prince says, In any case, I will fulfill your debt completely, so no more complaining. Just follow me. The mage of the kingdom says, All right, in that case, let's sign an agreement. The prince thinks to himself, Does the name of the third prince of Beryl mean nothing? The prince says, Jared, witness my words. Witness that I, Yuri Beryl, said this. Jared says, Understood. Ernand asks, By the way, where exactly are we going with a royal knight and a mage? The prince says, We are going to the Mountain of Swords. From this moment on, we will raid the Founder's dungeon. A new chapter unfolds beneath the palace, within its hidden corridors. Jared says, I never knew there was a path under the palace, Your Highness. What's at the end of this cave? The prince replies, It leads to the Sword Mountain. Jared says, Sword Mountain? The legendary rumor of our ancestors? The prince thinks to himself, That's right. In my past life, after the Empire occupied Breel, they discovered a treasure trove on Sword Mountain. It was said to be a dig for the Breel family's ancestral legacy, which caused a huge stir at the time. They used this passage as an escape route back then. That's why Breel's legacy was surrendered to the Empire before we could even use it. But this time is different from my previous life, which I spent in hiding. In this life, I'll do my best to move forward instead of retreating. That's right. I'll see with my own eyes what the truth is about the ancestral legacy left in Breel. The path leads them out into the forest. Ernand says, We thought we'd go directly to Sword Mountain from here, Your Highness. But where did you get the key to that door? As you know, it's an artifact. The prince thinks to himself, It was hidden in the corner of the study room, just like before. I paid the price for not knowing about it in the past. My memories are serving me now. He says to Ernand, That's none of your business. They continue through the forest. Suddenly, the prince says, Wait, there's a pack of fierce wolves ahead of us. They move in groups. Who knows how many there are? They haven't discovered us yet, so let's cross quietly. Ernand steps on a twig, making a sound. The wolves immediately attack. The knight, Jared, takes down the first wolf that attacks. The prince says, You've recognized the rough wolf fur and resorted to mana. Not bad, Jared, but you've attracted the attention of the alpha. The wolves gather around them. Jared says, You two stay behind me, The wolves viciously attack him, and he tries to fight them off. Ernan says, he fights with skill, as expected from a royal knight of Brielle. The prince says, he's talented, but he lacks the stamina to take them all on. The prince says, Ernan, the skills my father trusts you with, I think it's time for you to prove your worth to him. Ernan activates a magic spell. So, he intends to use a battle mage until the very last moment, he thinks. He attacks the wolves with the magic spell. The scene shifts, and they have reached the top of the mountain. Ernan says, I honestly didn't expect to see any monsters besides the wolves. Jared says, true, even though they delayed us, we finally arrived. This is the summit of Sword Mountain. Is this the right place, Your Highness? There's no trace of any artifact here. Nothing at all. The prince says, no, this is the right place, but we're supposed to find something. He finds something hidden under the dirt. The prince says, we have to pull it out completely. Jared says, help me, Sir Ernan. They pull out the object from under the dirt, and it is a sword. The sword's name is the Comet. Jared says, is this the ancestral legacy? The prince says, who knows, but I think we're about to find out. A landslide occurs, and the prince and his companions fall.